David Seymour has called for the abolition of the Ministry for Pacific Peoples. David Seymour wants to abolish the Ministry for Pacific Peoples. David Seymour is stupid. This policy proposal is obviously an attempt at virtue signalling to the ACT Party base. This policy proposal is the perfect ACT Party policy because it appeals to both parts of their base. The ACT Party base consists of two primary groups of people. Rich people who want social services to be cut so that they can receive tax cuts. And racist idiots. When David Seymour calls for the abolition of the Ministry for Pacific Peoples, he is virtue signalling to both major parts of the ACT Party base. He is telling his rich supporters that he will gut government spending to pay for their tax cuts. He is telling his racist supporters that he will put the minorities in their place. Read between the lines, see the message he wants his supporters to see. Abolishing the Ministry for Pacific Peoples is a stupid idea. The Ministry for Pacific Peoples exists to ensure that the interests of Pacific Islanders residing within New Zealand are taken seriously by the government. The Ministry for Pacific Peoples exists to ensure that the New Zealand government has a positive relationship with the Pacific Islanders of the country. So why is this important? Pacific Islanders are a major ethnic group within the country. Positive relations with Pacific Islander communities is hugely important. The Pacific Island states that these people often have close connections to are of massive geopolitical importance to New Zealand. The Pacific Island states are massively important to New Zealand's geopolitical interests. Pacific Islanders within New Zealand have strong connections to those states. Their treatment within New Zealand will significantly influence New Zealand's relations with the states they come from. Our geopolitical relations with the states of the Pacific Islands will be heavily influenced by our treatment of the huge Pacific Islander population within our borders. A huge portion of the people of these states inhabit New Zealand or have connections with New Zealand. The relations that the New Zealand government has with these people will significantly influence the New Zealand government's relations with the states from which they originate. That is just a fact. Maintaining positive relations with the states of the Pacific Islands means maintaining positive relations with the Pacific Islanders who reside within New Zealand. We must take our relationship with the Pacific Island states extremely seriously. The region is of geopolitical and economic significance to New Zealand. This is particularly true given China's ambitions in the region. China is seeking influence over the Pacific Islands. The dumbest thing we could do is choose to alienate and insult the Pacific Islands. It would be idiotic to turn our back on the Pacific Islands. We would play into the hands of the Chinese and abandon our geopolitical and economic interests in the region. And for what? To virtue signal to rich people and racists. It is laughable. Abolishing the Ministry for Pacific Peoples is such a stupid idea. Maintaining good relations with these countries is hugely important. They are our close neighbours. China is seeking to influence the region. They are important geopolitically and economically. Maintaining good relations with these states is vital, and that means maintaining good relations with their people. At a time when China is competing for influence in the region, the last message we want to send is the message that we would send if we abolished the ministry. Abolishing the Ministry for Pacific Peoples would be akin to giving them a middle finger. It would undermine our geopolitical and economic interests and push them towards the clutches of Chinese influence. That is the opposite of what we should be doing. The message that David Seymour wants to send is the exact opposite of the message we should be sending. David Seymour would recognise this if he spent just a moment to consider his policies. But no, virtue signalling is far more important to him. David Seymour is an idiot. New Zealand can do better. New Zealand deserves better.